Hi everyone, we're going to review some operations with fractions today. So to start out, we'll look at multiplying fractions. So remember, when you're multiplying, we multiply the numerators times the numerator and the denominator times the denominator. So 1 times 2 would give me 2, 4 times 3 gives me 12, and we can simplify these. They share a common factor of 2. So one way you can tell that is because they're both even. So if I divide them both by 2 over 2, that keeps it equivalent. That's like dividing by 1. And so I end up with 1/6. So that's the simplified form. 2/12 and 1/6 are equal to each other. So whenever I multiply a whole number by a fraction, I can turn the whole number into a fraction by putting a 1 underneath it. And then I just multiply the numerators. 4 times 2 gives me 8, and then 1 times 5 gives me 5. I can leave this as 8/5, or if they ask me to change it to a mixed number, I know that 5/5 makes 1 whole, and then 8 minus 5 leaves 3/5 left over. So 1 3/5 is another way we can write that. Then if I'm dividing by a fraction, 5 divided by a third, if you'll remember, that means how many thirds are in 5. So if I had just 1, I would have 3/3 in 1. So I can multiply 3 times 5 to get 15. And then whenever I'm dividing by a fraction, or dividing by a whole number, a fraction by a whole number, a unit fraction, 1/3 divided by 5, I can think of this one as 1/3 times 1/5. Because remember, dividing by 5 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/5. So then I just multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 is 1. And then multiply the denominators. 3 times 5 is 15. So I get 1/15. And then most recently we have started adding and subtracting fractions. So remember, with adding and subtracting, we have to get a common denominator. So here I'm going to use 5 as I'm going to multiply the 5 and the 3 to get my common denominator. We've talked about different ways to do this. You can get the least common denominator, and this actually will be the least common denominator when I multiply 3 times 5. That gives me 15. And then if you'll remember, whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator. So to get from 3 to 15, that's like multiplying by 5. So I have to multiply the numerator by 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. And then here, 5 times 3 gives me 15, so I multiply the numerator by 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. So now I have common denominators. So I just add the numerators. 10 plus 3 gives me 13. And my denominator is going to be 15. So you're going to have some more problems like this. And our mystery word for today is best, because I know you're going to do your best on these problems and on the upcoming ACT Aspire.